International Overdose Awareness Day is a global event held on the 31st of August each year and aims to raise awareness of overdose and reduce the stigma of a drug-related death. It also acknowledges the grief felt by family and friends, remembering those who have died or had a permanent injury as a result of a drug overdose. Overdose Awareness Day also presents an opportunity to help the wider community understand that drug overdose is a social issue and no one is immune to drug harm. In the following videos, you will hear from a few people who have been affected by the overdose in one way or another.
Hi, my name is Katie Douglas, and I want to share a little bit with you about two amazing people that left us in this world way too soon. Two needless deaths that didn't need to happen. The first one is my stepdaughter, Sapphire Laverne Harris. She was born December 7th, 1998, and died of an overdose on January 29th, 2020. Sapphire was an amazing young woman, and I was blessed to get to be her other mom. She has been a part of my life since she was, around 4 years old. She stayed with me a lot. She came from a home that wasn't healthy, and bad things would happen, and so I spent a lot of time taking care of her and her brother, that's my son. She was a beautiful young lady, and it breaks my heart to see that she is gone and her death didn't need to happen. She leaves behind a beautiful young son, Xavier, that's 2 years old, my grandson. He is absolutely amazing, and unfortunately, due to the disease of addiction and overdose, he will never know his mother. It's tragic. It shouldn't have happened. The second one is Russell Allen Bullard, born August 30th, 1977, and died August 24th, 2019. I grew up with Russell. I spent my whole life with him. His parents and my parents were best friends, and there's not a day in my life that I don't remember him being a part of it. He wasn't just a friend, he was my brother. Him and I were close, super close, just as close, if not closer, than any blood brother and sister could be. Growing up, we spent a lot of time playing big time wrestling and playing barbershop, pretending to cut off his beautiful blonde curls. As we got older, we both made some bad choices in our life, and both came to the disease of addiction. Unfortunately, that disease cost him his life. He leaves behind an amazing wife, Barbara, 3 amazing stepchildren that he loved like his own, Dakota, Cassidy, and Maddie, and a young 5-year-old son who is going to grow up not having his dad. He also left behind 2 beautiful granddaughters that unfortunately will not remember their grandpa. I myself have been clean since December 5th, 2001, and I'm sharing that with you because the reason that I am clean is because of Russell. When my disease hit really, when I hit my rock bottom, he's the one that I contacted, he's the one that I reached out to, and he introduced me to detox and to recovery, and I've been clean ever since. Unfortunately, through the years following, he would come in and out of recovery, and he'd do really good for a couple of years and fall back off, then do really good, fall back off, and this last time we were completely blindsided. He was an amazing man of God. He very active in his church, very active in 12-step program and helping other men to get clean and to change their lives. In the past, when he had relapsed, there was always warning signs. This time there was none. He had just moved with his family, got a wonderful job, was going to be around some of his family that he hadn't seen in quite a while, and he was doing absolutely amazing. Beautiful home, beautiful family, wonderful career, and then it all changed. One day he didn't come home, and then he was found 2 days later in his truck, dead from an overdose. You know, it's been a really rough year. These deaths were absolutely senseless and needless, and there's no reason for them to have happened. Overdose is 100% preventable. There are lots of different avenues and choices and things that you can do to get out of addiction and to get into active recovery. There are amazing support systems and 12-step groups. There's treatment centers, there's faith-based, there's the list goes on and on. There is a lot of help and opportunity out there. If you know someone that's struggling, just know that there is hope. You know, there's a way to help, and they don't have to die. You don't have to bury your loved ones like I did.
My name is Sierra. I am an addict, and I am a recovering addict, though. I have a past. My clean date is March 22nd, 2018. We all have pasts, but mine included drugs, hardcore drugs, and I struggled big time with it. The last 3 years of my use was the most crucial, brutal time during my usage. It had a lot of ups and downs. It had a lot of failure, it was a lot. I ended up losing everything I possibly had. I lost custody of my then 6-year-old daughter. I was homeless. I had no friends. I was hanging out by myself, just roaming the streets with absolutely nowhere to go, nobody to talk to. And it was really difficult. I got to a place mentally and emotionally where I was just ready to kill myself. I was fed up with myself. I didn't want to look at myself. I was so just horrified at the fact that I was in the position that I was, you know? How could I get to this place in life where I don't even know who I am? I don't even know my name. I don't even know what year it is. I didn't even know where I was at. Now I have my life. I got custody of my daughter. I didn't get custody of my daughter, but I'm working towards that. And I am happy. I'm clean. I have a year and 4 months clean, you know. Things are going awesome. I have a 10-month-old baby. And I'm just happy. I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with the direction that God has finally made me have direction in my life, and it's just so great. It really is. But the biggest part of my story, and I feel like the biggest reason why I decided to get clean, was my overdose. It happened in October of 2018. I had on and off again been using my drug of choice, which was meth, but not really a lot. I was staying with my dad in Bothell, and I remember, just kind of going on and off, trying to quit, but, still stuck in that I didn't really want to quit kind of mode. So I decided I wanted to go hang out with one of my longtime friends. I've known her for years. her and I actually met in rehab, my first rehab I went to, and I remember I ended up going to pick up a beer, and I just chugged that down before I met up with her, because I don't know about you guys, but the worry always was, am I gonna be cool enough? Am I gonna be likable? Are people going to want to be around me? Are they gonna like my personality? Are they going to vibe with me? Am I gonna vibe with them? So I just always had to be intoxicated. And sorry. It led me to being in a very vulnerable spot, I guess. She met up with me, and ended up, being that, I don't know how far into everything I need to get, but she ended up wanting me to buy her a large amount of, Percocet 30s. And, I didn't really ever dabble in dealing, or, I never got into that. So it wasn't really my thing. But I said, okay, sure, why not? Yeah, I'll be the one to take the fall for this if we do happen to get caught up. But in the meantime, we were driving to the location, and I guess I kept asking her for a Percocet. I knew that she was using them, and I wanted to use them myself as well. And she ended up giving me one, and I snorted it, and I don't remember anything after that. The next thing that I remember was coming to in the hospital, and I had 3 different IVs plugged into me, and I was vomiting profusely. The second thing I remember was thinking about my daughter and what life would have been like for her without me in her life. And that really, really hit home for me. I don't think I've really even given myself a lot of time to really process it and really think about it much, because it's something that I've just wanted to overcome, and not really have it be like a part of my life and my story, but it is, and thank God I'm here. October 2018 didn't overtake me. It didn't take me down. I'm still alive and kicking, and it's just sad though. It really makes me think about how many people do lose their lives, and just and they're just gone, and there's so many families out there that are just struggling, just don't even know how to get through each day because they have lost their family member, that's been on drugs. And it's so hard. Drugs are just, addiction is such a killer. It is just so mentally, physically, emotionally exhausting and draining, and there is not one good aspect about it. I am 1,000% confident when I tell you that there is not one good thing positive about it. It takes away who you are. It takes away your soul. It brings you to the darkest place. It just robs you of your life, your love, everything that you are is gone. And I realized that, and I came to the point where I was just so fed up with being, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. God had bigger plans for me. God didn't want my life to be taken. And I am eternally grateful for that, that I can continue to still live life. I can be a gymnasium for a little 10-month-old, and that I can still be a mom to my daughter. Just, I whoever is listening to this, you know, I feel for you. I do, but you can get it together. You can, and you will, you know? And that's the great part about it, is that there is so much life after where you're at right now. There is so much opportunity. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be the easiest path, but you will be so proud of yourself, and I will be proud of you. And there's so many people that will be proud of you and that want you to do it. And you have to do it, you know? You just have to. Because you're not gonna know if your life is done. You're not gonna know if you die. But everybody in your life that you leave behind is gonna know. And they are gonna struggle with that for a long time. They're not ever gonna get over it. You know, you are somebody special. You are the reason that people smile, why they laugh, why they get up in the morning, why they have what they have in life is because of you. Don't take yourself for granted. Don't allow that drug to take you away, because you are the greatest person out there. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You know, you have a lot to offer this world. And even if it's not the whole world, you have a lot to offer your world. You're amazing, and you can pull yourself out of this. I promise you that. I hate that slogan. People say, if I can do it, you can do it. No, it's you can do this. You can. My daughter, I'll leave you with this. My daughter has this mantra that she does. And it started when she was about 3 years old, trying to learn to ride a bike. And my mom and myself just kept telling her, Aubrey, just tell yourself, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And still to this day, she's 9 years old. And every time that she is struggling with something, all she does is she says, I can do this. I can do this. You got this.
Hi, my name's Carly. I'm an addict. My clean date is 1/26/2018. I'm 22 years old, and I just wanted to talk about my story, about my overdose story and my story of recovery. I started out using at a really young age, and by the age of 16, I was already like a full-blown heroin addict, IV heroin addict, and I started out smoking, and like a lot of people do, and it progressed, and somebody introduced me to a needle one day, and ever since that day I really couldn't stop. I got addicted to the needle as much as I was addicted to the drug, I was in and out of jails and treatment centers, and I just could never really get it together. I would get clean for a little bit and then relapse over and over, and a few months before I got clean, my clean date's in January, my overdose happened in September. I was just hanging out with my friend, just a normal day, and we were way out in the country, just kind of like getting high, hanging out, talking, and he had to go and do something, so he was like, oh, I need to drop you off somewhere. So I was like, okay, cool. So we went back into town, and he was like, hey, do you want to go to McDonald's before I drop you off and we could get some food? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we went to McDonald's, we went through the drive-thru. It was like in the middle of the night, and we got some food, and then he parked in the parking lot at McDonald's, and I decided I was going to do a speedball, so I mixed my meth and heroin, and I had been getting high all night long, and so I just didn't really think much of it, and I guess I put more in the spoon than I thought that I did, and we were just sitting there talking about I was going to eat some food, and as soon as I did my shot, that's where my memory blacks out, and then the next thing that I knew, I was waking up in a hospital bed with a giant tube down my throat, breathing for me, and Luckily, the person that I was with had nasal spray Narcan. So the rest of the story I don't remember, but this is just what he told me. He said that I was just in the middle of a sentence, and then all of a sudden I just kind of like slumped over in my chair and was like not talking. And at first he, was trying to shake me and say, "Carly, wake up, wake up." And I just wasn't waking up, like I wasn't responding at all. And so he said that he slapped me across my face as hard as he could, and I had no reaction, like at all. So he administered Narcan, and the first dose didn't do anything, so he administered a second dose. And I guess I started breathing a little bit, like he could hear me like gasping for breath. And so he ended up taking me to the emergency room, which was just like less than a mile away, luckily. He took me to the emergency room, he carried me inside, and told them that I had overdosed. And they took me back, administered more Narcan, and I still wasn't responding. And at this point, I didn't have a pulse and I didn't have a heart rate, and my heart had stopped. And so they ended up intubating me, which was just shoving a tube down my throat to breathe for me, so that way I would still be getting oxygen. And then they used the paddles and they had to restart my heart, basically. So that's what I woke up to. And I had no idea where I was. I was panicking, and so they ended up pulling the tube out and putting an oxygen mask on. And I just remember my immediate thought after they told me, "You're in the hospital, you just overdosed," was, "Oh my God, I feel like shit. I need to get more," which is so terrifying. I remember I just wanted to leave. Like I just wanted to get out of the hospital as soon as I could. And I didn't have my phone. Luckily, the guy that I was with, he stayed there with me to make sure that I was okay. But once I woke up, then he left because I'm sure he was like scared to get in trouble or whatnot. But he ended up like keeping my backpack with my phone and like all my stuff in it. At this point I was homeless, so like that was like all my stuff, But I only had one shoe on, so like I didn't have my phone, I only had one shoe on. It was just a terrible experience. And the nurse was like, "Do you have somebody we can call that could come and get you?" And I ended up calling my husband. He's my husband now, but he was my boyfriend at the time, to come and get me. And yeah, it was terrible, and this happened in September. I got clean in January, but in October, I didn't know until 3 months later, but I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter, which is what ended up causing me to get clean. So yeah, it's crazy. It's really hard to think about that situation without getting emotional because Narcan saved my life long enough for me to get clean and now have a beautiful life and have a beautiful little 2-year-old daughter, and a husband and my family and my friends. And, it's scary because the drugs are not always what we think that they are, and it's really, really easy to, think that you're putting in the same amount that you always do, but accidentally not, or accidentally get some bad dope. And it's just really scary. I'm so grateful that I was with somebody that carried Narcan with them, luckily, because I honestly don't think that I would have lived if the person that I was with hadn't been able to administer that Narcan right away, because who knows, so now my life is amazing, and I am so, so grateful to be alive today, because I know there's people that don't get that lucky. I have friends that have died from this disease, from overdoses, and it's heartbreaking. So yeah, I'm really glad I got to share my story. I hope that anybody that's listening to this right now knows that there is hope if you're still using, or you want to get clean. Like, there is a better way of life available, and there is resources available. And if you still are going to use, please carry Narcan, because you could save somebody's life, you know. Whether you use IV or not, like, you might be there with somebody that is, you know, and you might be able to save their life. And they might end up getting clean one day, you know, and then they'll be really grateful that you did. So thank you guys.
Hi, my name is Leilani Hernandez, and on April 15th, 2019, I lost my 24-year-old son to a fentanyl overdose. That afternoon, I found him in his room after my husband called me saying that he couldn't get a hold of him all day long. It wasn't uncommon for me not to see him all day. He usually slept most of the day and stayed up most of the night. So when my husband called me and said that he hadn't heard from him all day, it kind of concerned me. So I went to his room and I knocked on the door, and it was really quiet. And so I had to break through his window to get in. And at first I didn't see him. And then halfway through the window, I saw him face down on his bed. I told my husband that he was gone. And my husband was devastated. He had to drive home from working. I hung up with him. I called 911. And then I sat there with him until the EMT arrived. And then the sheriff got here and the coroner came, and so we were in shock, of course. Even now, you know, over a year later, we still just sometimes can't believe that he's gone. I'm not exactly sure when he first started using fentanyl. He hid it very well. We ended up finding out that he was using from a family member. And when we confronted him about it, he was in denial. And so we were in such disbelief. We couldn't believe it. We were just like, well, maybe they're wrong. But then we started noticing little signs that something wasn't right. And the more we did research and kind of talked to people and dug a little deeper, we noticed that things were off. There were some things that couldn't be explained, things missing from the house. And before, they were explained away. And we, of course, not thinking that our son could do stuff like that, it seemed like a reasonable explanation. So then when, we started thinking about it a little bit more, pieces started falling into place, and we were like, wow, we have a son that has a problem. We tried talking to him about it. Of course, everybody's crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm fine. I know what I'm doing. All of the whole thing. This went on years. Back and forth, fighting, and we did the tough love, the, spoiling you rotten, I'll give you whatever you want if you'll quit. We did it all. And nothing worked. Sure, he would, quit for a week or two. He'd be good. And then right back to it. When he finally decided that he had had enough, he came and told us, I need to go to treatment. So we started calling around. Nobody had any beds. Finally got a hold of a place, and they said, well, we can get him in. It's going to be about 12 weeks. But you're going to have to get a hold of his insurance. The insurance process was hard because even though he had insurance, because it was going to be in treatment, he had to do a whole kind of question and answer type of thing. And with him being like going through withdrawal, not being the cheeriest person in the world at that time, didn't want to do that. So that was a whole nother fight. He wasn't very polite. And so that was another hurdle that we had to go through. And so it was really frustrating because, one, when an addict wants to go to treatment, that is your window of opportunity because that doesn't last long. And by the time that his bed date actually did come around, he didn't want to go. And then with the insurance, it was so frustrating to get the approval. I can see why people don't want to go through all of that. Up to the point where he was to go to treatment, we put him in our room. He slept in our room. We took his shoes. We took his car keys. He stayed home. If we left the house, he went with us. I mean, he was on 24/7 lockdown because we weren't going to give him the opportunity to slip away and miss his bed date. When the time for him to go to treatment came up, he didn't do his treatment for us, or for him, he did it for us. Because he had found a clinic that was helping him with his withdrawals. And so he felt like he could do his treatment on his own. So he didn't want to go to treatment. He wanted to stay out, and he said that he could do it. He could not have to go to treatment, and he was trying to make all of these conditions to not go. And we said no. He had to go to treatment. So he kind of went into treatment half-heartedly, and he did treatment, made some friends. While he was there, he made every excuse to get out. I mean, we went and visited. He pouted. I mean,
You know, he had the mentality while he was there that everyone there was so much worse than he was, that he didn't deserve to be there because he wasn't that type of addict. When it came time to get out of treatment, he didn't want to do the live-in at like a halfway house. He didn't want to do the meetings because I'm not one of those addicts, Mom. I don't need that stuff. I did this treatment. I'm okay now. I can do this on my own. I'm okay. Okay. So he refused all that. Roman had this mentality that it wasn't going to happen to him. I'm not that type of addict. I'm not going to get that bad. So he always thought that he had control of his addiction, and he didn't. I think it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. I wish it was talked about more in school, about the effects, about everything. Because it just takes once. And when Roman was in treatment and we did the whole family thing, that's what he told me was with fentanyl. Mom, I did it once and that was it. And I could not get away from it. And I asked him, I said, so then how do you think you're going to stay away from it when you leave here? If it's that strong. And he says, well, because I can. That's the only answer he could give me. I think there needs to be more education on the effects of drugs, whether it be fentanyl, marijuana, alcohol, because kids just don't realize the effects that stuff has. They don't see a downside a lot of the times because it's portrayed in movies and social media and things as something fun and cool. And it doesn't show the downsides of it. And it doesn't show the addicted person. I think that's really important to get that out there. The effect that Roman's death has had on our family has been tremendous. We think about him every day. It's something that each one of us, you know, he has 3 brothers. And, you know, me and my husband, we all, you know, have thought, what could we have done differently? What could we have done to help him? What didn't we see? You know, it's just, there's something missing in our lives now. It's not something that we'll ever be able to refill in our lives because he's gone. It's just hard. It's just hard losing somebody like that. Because with addiction, it's always that, you know, why couldn't they quit? You know, why did they have to die from what they were doing? So there's always those unknowns, you know, those questions. And we ask ourselves the questions, you know, what could I have done? Could I have done more? What could I have done different? And I think that that's something that we'll ask probably for the rest of our lives.
Visit triumphtx.org and overdoseday.com to help raise awareness of overdose and spread the message that overdose is preventable.